Alright guys, Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons, and what I've got for you here is an analysis of Alexi Laiho's playing style using 3 licks as case studies. You can find out how to play them with the eye up there, and tabs as ever are available on patreon.com/JBF Music. Make sure to subscribe to enable all stuff with the bell thing to be kept up to date with new content. Drop a like and a comment to show your support for the channel in our never-ending battle against the recommendation system. I'm in standard tuning for all of these and somewhat grudgingly using my bridge pickup for more authentic tone for the leads anyway. The neck pickup is way more forgiving for playing lead for myself, but as usual I'm trying to get the tone in the right sort of ballpark, using the Hate Crew Death Roll album as my main focus, my main point of reference. So a fairly heavy sound. Hot pickups really help me out here, and a little bit extra sizzle, maybe in the 2 to 3.5k area, compared to what I'd usually dial in. It's maybe not too dissimilar to a Randy Rhoads style tone, more of his licks with the eye up there. But yeah, all that aside, let's dive into the theory, techniques and habits part of it. We're in G minor here, the chords are in E flat, F, G, back to an F, E flat, B flat, F, and then a G. Just kind of ringing that out for the remainder of the bar. Alright, following the chords using arpeggios like this one. If you don't recognise that shape as an arpeggio, you might want to check out that tutorial with the eye up there. It goes through all these little arpeggio shapes that you can use. But what we've got is a root, a third, and a fifth. Just bouncing between them. Over the F chord, we're using an arpeggio with the root and the fifth. Just root an octave there. Adding in the 6th and the 9th. To develop this theme a little bit further. Keeping the same rhythm but using pedal point here, more in that technique again with the little eye up there. We're using this 5th as the pedal and employing the root, the flat 3rd, as well as the 9th in passing. Playing over the F, we're bending a 3rd, a semitone to the 4th, back down, 2nd, going to the root, and then bending that up, a tone to the 9th. Just shredding through Aeolian here for a breakdown of that mode all over the fretboard to give the eye up there click. Playing that over the 4, the 1, the 5, the 6 chords. A little pickup on this note, then just triplets. Again, we're hitting arpeggios over this G minor. Going with the root, the 3rd, the 5th. Then working up the scale. Ending on a bend with some vibrato. Main takeaways: 2-note per string arpeggios like this and this. Using the 9th for a more kind of modern metal edge. Mixing more modal playing like that run. With the kind of following the chords thing that we looked at with the arpeggios. These little themes. Pedal point. But using bends and kind of note manipulation so it doesn't sound too neoclassical, and some neat shred picking runs. Finishing off with staccato lines and triumphant bends. Let's try and get a more triumphant bend than that. That'll do. Alright, those familiar with the channel, first off, you guys rock, but they'll have clocked this straight away. So if you want to get your chops and theory up to scratch, make sure to give subscribe a click and shred along with the rest of the lick squad tonight. But yeah, this is the Dorian Blues scale in D. For more on that and some other cool licks and ways to use it, check out the little eye up there. But what we've got is a scale with flat 3rd, 2nd, root, flat 7, 6th, 5th, flat 5th, 4th, flat 3rd, 2nd, root, and flat 7th. Making good use of the flat 5th, the 5th, and the 7th. Shredding down in groups of 4. This little 3-note turnaround. Tone bend to target the 5th. Really unusual to hear these bends mixed in with such fast-paced picking runs, but it's definitely part of Alexi's sound palette. Then we have this little slide. Ending on this flat 7th. What's really interesting here is that the riff underneath it is in D for Gian, rather than D Dorian. which the lick is based in. Got an E flat, a D, an F, a C, E flat, back to the D, with an A to a B, with that awesome frantic chugging rhythm. So rather than going from an arguably somewhat cliched Phrygian dominant sound, or even the Phrygian blues, Alexi is opting for a sort of bimodality, two different modes at the same time, and somehow pulling it off. So if we look at the rhythm, he's using notes both in the Dorian and the Phrygian blues for the first two bars, these. When he does the run, the only out sound over the underlying E flat chord is this flat 9. Super crunchy. But then, because the rhythm is chugging on a D, he uses the tonal freedom to rip through the Dorian blues scale, so it doesn't descend into a full-on atonal death metal type of sound. And you know what? I'd say that playing largely in key is really what separates melodic death metal from straight death metal, if you want to boil it down to the most simplistic reason. The final chords here, an A and a B flat, you might notice these aren't strictly in D Phrygian, and while they just kind of add some edge, when they're used to repeat the riff, what they do here is signal some more modal madness as the song changes into D Aeolian. So to quickly recap that, the riff is largely in Phrygian, but modulates into Aeolian as the song progresses. The lick he's playing is largely in D Dorian blues, but used creatively enough that it doesn't cause this kind of conflict that you sometimes get in death metal with the underlying rhythm. TLDW, the Dorian blues scale, but using it for a more kind of 80s style shred sound, this pattern that pops up in his playing elsewhere, that picking thing. You know, different shapes using the same picking pattern. Some pretty ferocious alternate picking on that descent, but putting in sneaky bends for some real nice melodic touches. And this really cool bimodality thing, essentially balancing a Phrygian rhythm guitar part with a Dorian lead over the top while following the chords just enough that it sounds edgy but not atonal. Little Blood Red Riding Hood is a great example of Alexi Laiho's unique take on sequences. So we've got C sharp, E in first inversion, E, F sharp, and a G. We're starting off with a more kind of sparse minor blues scale. It could be Aeolian blues or Dorian. I'd lean towards Dorian because that's a sound he's used before, as we've already found out. You could also see this as a C sharp minor 7 arpeggio with the 9th, the 4th, and the flat 5th, but I'm hearing it as more of a scalar lick. He then uses the start of this lick, just changing the last note, and then changes it over an inverted B chord, essentially playing a B arpeggio. So you got the 5th, the 3rd, the root, and the 5th, but using this 4th for that, is it a scale or is it an arpeggio hybrid sound? Keeping the same theme with this E major 7 arpeggio, which has the 3rd, the root, the 5th, the 3rd, root, the major 7, and this 9th here, the 2nd, for a bit more of a modern sound. Using the same arpeggio shape with the 9th in it over this F sharp. So again, 3rd, 2nd, root, 5th, 3rd, root, and the major 7th there. Then up over the G sharp minor, we've got the flat 3rd, 2nd, root, flat 7th, and 5th. Bending up to the root at G sharp just to wrap things up. So this progression changes key but in a really quite subtle way. So originally we've got 6, 6, 6, 5, 1. This 1 chord, which is an E, is then used to pivot to B major. So it becomes the 4 chord of B major. The F sharp chord here is a 5 chord. G sharp being the 6. Main takeaways, sequences. But also using more edgy sounds like the Dorian blues scale. for slightly more out sound. Again, some pretty rapid fire picking, but with some sneaky legato, like that little pull off on the E string to help facilitate string changes, using what is essentially a string skipped arpeggio, but with an extra note in that ninth, just to make it a bit more interesting, a bit more modern. We got some sweep picking, albeit just a minimal example of that here. Following the chords, he's really strictly following the chords, so much so that he's using the sequence to change the key, and making sure to use some bends as well, to keep things nice and vocal. Okay, let's pick a few of these ideas we've learned through these licks and try to write an Alexi style lick. Let's go with Dorian Blues, that scale, the rhythm from the first lick, that... let's do sequencing, so kind of moving up the scale, and let's end on a nice vocal bend as well. So... okay, let's play that with a bit more speed on it, and maybe a bit more palm muting as well. Signature Licks playlist is there, or click that for an Alexi reaction with some licks and a deeper look at his amazing palm muting technique. Yeah, hit subscribe to keep up to date with the channel, leave me any suggestions, check out the tabs on Patreon, and enable all notifications by ringing that little bell on the side, if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.